Um, okay. So our presenter today is Dr. Isaac Mwinlaaru. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Isaac.
Good, very good.
From the University of Cape Coast, Isaac received his PhD in the language sciences from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, where he worked on a project entitled A Systemic Functional Description of the Grammar of Dagare. Is that correct?
Yep.
How do you pronounce the name of the language?
Dagare.
Great.
Yes.
And his thesis is awarded the Faculty of Humanities Distinguished Thesis Award for PhD students in 2016 at PolyU. So Isaac's research interests include systemic functional theory, functional grammar, language typology, and grammaticalization. Isaac is joining us today from Ghana. It's quite early there, I think, around 5 o'clock. And I also think he told me that he's caught a cold. So thanks for agreeing to present today, Isaac. I need to leave. I have another meeting at 2. So if I don't get to the Q&A session, if we can't get to the Q&A session till then, you might need to take the questions yourself. But over to you, Isaac.
Okay, great. That is very fine. Thank you very much, Muse. I hope I got the name correct too.
Moose.
Moose, yes, okay. Thank you very much for your kind and wonderful introduction. Apologies to all of you and for your wonderful support for waiting and not quitting. I tried this up yesterday with a class, it worked, but unfortunately this morning, I had a problem trying to log in again. As I mentioned to Vin and Moose, I'm not in Cape Coast now, I'm on a working trip to the Volta region of Ghana, to one of the affiliated colleges of the University of Cape Coast to oversee the conduct of the end of semester examination. Because of COVID, we are now doing our end of semester examination for the second semester of the academic year that was kind of terminated because of the lockdown and all of that. And so I'm not in my comfort zone. And that is one reason that resulted in interrupting the network and all that. So as he mentioned, I worked on Dagari for my PhD, and since then I've been working on this language from a systemic functional perspective. And you will see that I've modified the topic a little bit. It's essentially the same thing, but the time when I submitted the abstract, you'll see that I was still very much doing the analysis, which is still ongoing. But what I've been able to do now is to more of systemicize the analysis I've done initially. And then now I'm able to have some system networks and all of that. So things are more clearer now. And so I replaced definiteness and specificity in my title now with a more general term, Deicticity, right? So Deicticity in Dagari, in the Dagari nominal group is what we are going to look at today. I'm going to be very brief. For one, because of my cold, but secondly, also because this work is still ongoing and the analysis I'm presenting is not a finished work, it's a preliminary kind of thing. And I hope I'll get some inputs for the further analysis I'll be doing. So the one motivation for the study, thanks to, again, Moose and Jim and the team in Sydney working on a special issue, which I've been invited to contribute to on the nominal group. And reading around and analyzing my data, I noticed this issue about definiteness, or if you like, Deicticity in the Dagari nominal group, which kind of was one of the most challenging parts, I should think, in looking at the Dagari nominal group. And I decided that why not start this project on the nominal group by looking at the Deictic elements. And so when Vin contacted me to contribute to this webinar, I decided to pick the challenge and then focus on this area. So it's part of this ongoing broader study on the nominal group in Dagare, which is motivated by work in Sydney, which I've been invited to contribute to. So I'll give a brief introduction, indicates my analysis process, the procedure I use for analysis. So by way of method, I'll give an overview of the Dagare nominal group and discuss deictic elements within the structure of the nominal group, and then introduce the system of dices, and then I will conclude. So what is deicticity? So from the word dices, okay, so we know that dices are linguistic signs that have the sense of pointing or indexing, right? So always, we always have to refer to something outside of the sign in order to interpret it. And this can be within the context of text or the context of situation. And dices normally will have an origo, what has been described as the deity center. And across languages, this is typically mostly the speaker here and now. Okay, although some languages do have variations in what would be the deictic center. And so deicticity will be the lexicogrammatical system of dices. And I tried online, I could use only within the SFL context, and we can trace it. It is used, we have more references to the term in Halliday-Matheson, for instance. And it has been studied within the SFL tradition as part of reference in discussions on cohesion. So if you read Halliday and Hassan, you have a sense of deicticity. Then it has also been examined in terms of lexicogrammar of both the nominal group and the verbal group. And this again in Halliday-Matheson, IFG4, we see more of this kind of treatment. Within discourse semantics under participant in the identification, Jim Martin, going back to the 1980s, work on Tagalog and also English and other languages that he had worked on. So these studies form current to my own study, and I depend on these studies to conceptualize and also to inform the kind of analysis I bring to the Dagare nominal group. So just an illustration with an English example, as using terminologies and within the analysis of English, systemic functional linguistics in English, okay? So we pick these examples, those three big mango trees in the garden, this is a nominal group. So in terms of SFL, we know that those is the deictic element, 3 is a nominative, big is epithet, mango classifier, 3 thing in the garden qualifier. So as Halliday-Matheson notes, in English and indeed in many other languages, the deictic element in the nominal group is normally thematized, okay? And it normally occupies the first position. And you compare later, you'll see that in Dagare, it's not only the first position, we can also have deictic at the final position. So this is an example from the Dagare data we are working on, but I'm presenting this by way of giving the problem statement. What is the problem investigated in this study? So in Dagare, I find that we have the deictic elements repeated, or let's say occurring in the nominal group more than once. So we have an example here, impact sele atane, which translates into English as those 3 white shirts of mine. But a literal translation gives us something like the, my, white shirt, three, that, or those, okay? So this language allows us to use the definite article there together with a possessive determiner plus a demonstrative. And the definite article and the possessive determiner normally will occur before the noun, right? So in a pre-modifier position, but the demonstrative will occur as the last item in the qualifier position, okay? And this is very different from English, where, for instance, we cannot normally use the definite article, the demonstrative, and the possessive determiner together because they will form a paradigm and we have to make choices here. So this gets me quite curious. We can get another example here. So we say Benjoni Aza Tipal. Benjoni Aza Tipal. So here they arrested and jailed John. My focus again is on the nominal group. Here we have Aza, the John. So in English, for instance, we can translate this as John, right? But the Dagari data shows that, again, the definite article can occur with the proper noun, John, okay? Which in itself is inherently definite. We know that proper nouns have some unique reference, and so by themselves, they are kind of specific and definite in their meaning. But this language allows us to use the definite article with it. So the point here is, what are the, is it redundant to use the article here? Is it redundant in marking definiteness when we are using the article, the possessive, and the demonstrative together? Certainly not. We know that languages can be superfluous, but we know that languages have evolved over the years mostly to be quite economical. And so my assumption or presumption at the beginning is that each of these markers of deicticity or these deictic elements will have some different contributions in the noun group. And the studies on Dagari and related languages, of course, have noted the co-occurrence of these items, but they do not go beyond the description. So these are all looking at the data from the syntagmatic perspective, whereas SFL, we are normally interested in both the syntagmatic and then the systemic or the paradigmatic perspective. And of course, we are also interested in grounding the analysis in discourse data. And so what these studies do not tell us is why or what kind of motivations in usage can we trace to the use of the multiple deictic elements. Okay, so this is the particular problem that I intended to investigate. So to explain the need to explain the co-occurrence of multiple deictic items encoding definiteness in the Dagari nominal group, and then the co-occurrence of the definite article with nouns with unique reference, such as proper nouns, which are inherently definite. Okay, so the specific objectives, this particular issue is addressed with these particular specific objectives. I'm considering the structure of the Dagari nominal group, comprising both the experiential structure and the logical structure. And then I'll look at the placement of the deictic elements within the logical structure of the Dagari nominal group. And then I'll introduce and examine the system of dices here. So the data itself I'm working on consists of 65,000 words of spoken texts across registers in Dagari. As I said, this is a preliminary analysis, but this is a corpus I compiled myself. I've compiled myself over the past 7 years. And then I'm also getting text from the Dagari translation of the New Testament. So unlike English and other major languages, Daguerre is not a language where we have written so much. And apart from a few Bible and religious extracts, the major document you will see written in this language is the Bible. And so I cannot go without the Bible. But there's disadvantage, of course, is because it's translation and the source language could have some effect on the translation. So my primary data here, of course, is the myself. And of course, I'll use contrasted examples for illustrations. Sometimes the discourse data are not so much, let's say, is extended and may not, it may not be quite as short as I wanted to present on a slide. So some points I use contracted examples, and towards the end, I present more extended discourse data for illustrations. The analysis itself is a bottom-up approach with the following steps. So first, I do a kind of syntagmatic analysis, looking at the nominal group, looking at the classes of words that make up the nominal group. For instance, the definite tense markers, possessive, noun, numeral, and then the demonstrative. And of course, this is what has been done in the structural descriptive work that is available in Daguerre. And in SFL, we normally want to go beyond this. If you read my abstract, you see that when I presented the abstract, my analysis was just at this first stage, but I've gone beyond that to be able to abstract the functional structure of the nominal group by looking at what are the functional elements in this group that are realized by the word classes. And then secondly, I've identified systemic terms, right? So what systems are available in the noun group and what are their realizations? So I'll be presenting a system network. Okay, so the structure of the nominal group, first starting with the experiential structure. So the terms, or if you like, the functional elements are very much similar to what we have in English, but the difference is the nature of their realizations, and let's say the number of times a particular element like the deictic occurs. So we see that the deictic element occupies three positions in the nominal group. It is first position, right, deictic. We can have another deictic. So I'll call them deictic 1, deictic 2. And then the thing is normally conflicted with the epithet, and then the numerative will follow, and then the third deictic element will come. So an illustration will help. Using the illustration I gave earlier, you'll see this to be, so the deictic 1 here is realized by the definite article, the deictic 2 by the possessive determiner, and then at the final position, there is another deictic realized by a demonstrative determiner. So we have this construction, so my white shirt, shirt 3, that, or those, okay? I'm using that because the Daguerre do not have a distinction, does not make a distinction in terms of number using the demonstratives that. So that here, ne, is both that and those. It goes for both singular and plural nouns. So I can say in parcella ne, my white shirt, that, or in parcelle ne. So whether plural or singular, we can use the ne for that. But before I go to talk about the deictics, one other interesting thing I want to mention about the Daguerre nominal group is the thing which conflicts with the epithet. So we know that in English, mostly we have the adjectives serving as the epithets or functioning as the epithets, and they are placed before the noun. In Dagari, we tend not to have a class of words we can call adjectives, but property words are either verbs or nouns. So what we can describe as adjectival verbs or adjectival nouns. Now, when the thing or the noun is used together with a property word, they form a compound, right? They form a compound. And mostly the noun loses its final part. So here, this particular word, parcelle, the root of pa is paro, right? Paro is the noun, shirt. But now we are combining it with white, okay, which is cele. We lose the last syllable in paro, so that now we can add the cele to form the compound. And again, it is actually the cele, the property noun, that is marking the number, right? It is the singular form would be cela, okay? And we can also use the property word, which is the adjectival noun, even without the thing itself, right? Without indicating. So supposing we know that we are talking about shirt, you can say asele atane, right? Asele atane. So the white, the three white ones, you can interpret it like that. Although in the Dagari example, there is no word that means the ones. It is the cele that is both the property, the descriptive word, and also the noun. So the thing normally, when it can occur without the epithet, but when it occurs with the epithet, it is not, they are not separate words, they are together as a compound. So we conflate the thing with the epithet. And then the property word can occur alone without the noun. So the adjectival noun occurring alone. And I think this is also, I don't know, Japanese also has these adjectival nouns and adjectival verbs. So people those who speak Japanese may be quite familiar with this phenomenon. And the logical structure of the nominal group is also quite similar to, or let's say similar to the English, with the pre-modifiers, head and qualifier position. But again, it depends on, as we saw with the Deictics, the nature of realizations of these functions are what are different. Okay. Now, what I want to do is to map on the experiential structure onto the logical structure and see the logical, how the Deictic relates with the, what we call the position of the Deictic element in the logical structure of the clause, of the group. And we can have three possibilities. The Deictic can be pre-modifier, right? Occupying the thematic position in the group. So if it's Deictic 1, it's either the definite article, and the indefinite is 0. So 0 morpheme, that is also a marking. And then if it is Deictic 2, then we are dealing with a possessive determiner. Okay. The Deictic can also be head of the nominal group. And if it is head, then it's realized by either a demonstrative pronoun or we are dealing with a personal pronoun. The Deictic can be a qualifier, and the qualifier position will be occupied by the demonstrative determiner. So as a pre-modifier, position 1, Deictic 1, abi, okay? So the child. Indefinite would be ba, right? So 0 morpheme for the indefinite marker. Then Deictic 2, possessive, so you can say in ba. But what is interesting again in Dagari is that we can have the two I in ba, them, my child. Okay, so Afubie, this is your child in English. Okay, and then as head, demonstrative pronoun can be head. So here we have two deictics forming the nominal group all, right? So the and then that forming the nominal group. So deictic one, the definite article, right? And then the second one is the head of the nominal group. So the Dagari literal kind of glossing will be this is so there, that, which in English will translate as that one. Okay, so further illustrations, I'll just skip this slide. It was just supposed to give further illustrations of the use of prepositional items in a head position, or let's say deictic items in the head position. Okay, and as determiner, so a polyclinic ne, so the polyclinic, right? So the polyclinic that, so deictic occupying qualifier position, demonstrative determiner. So up to this point, we may all be curious, as I pointed at the beginning, why is this language using the and that together, and even the two alone can form the nominal group as pre-modifier and head. Okay, so this is what I sought to explain with the data I'm analyzing. And my preliminary analysis presents this system networks, which tends to indicate the different meanings, or if you like, the different systems, deictic systems in the nominal group, and trying to see their different contributions, right? The different contributions in meaning that they make to the group. So just to mention that, you will not expect the meaning of the in Dagari, right? The definite article in Dagari to be exactly the same as in English, for the reason that in English, we know that the demonstratives, the definite articles, and even the possessives form a paradigm and can, one is selected, we normally will not select the other. But since we have all of these occurring in the Dagari nominal group together, it means that the space of definiteness, for instance, or the space of deicticity, right, is divided amongst them. And so there is division of labor here. Okay, so some of the meanings of English demonstratives, English definite article may be divided, all right, across two different morphemes are guided. So for instance, some meaning being taken by the definite article and some meaning taken by the demonstrative. So the system network presents three subsystems, so three terms. So we have familiarity, we have identifiability, and we have personal. That is within the nominal group. So these terminologies, I'm still struggling with them. At the end of the day, if you have any suggestions, I'll take them. So familiarity here, I'm talking about whether the speaker considers the listener or the referent that is being indicated in the nominal, realized in the nominal group, whether the speaker considered it to be known or unknown to the listener, right? So if it is known to the listener, then it's considered to be familiar. And so in this case, a definite article can be used. If it is unfamiliar or if it's unknown to the listener, then it is realized by the zero morpheme, which is the indefinite. Okay. And then the other system is the identifiability. Okay. So is the referent identifiable to the speaker, to the listener? is the listener able to identify this either from the situational context or from some form of assumed knowledge, okay? So if it's identifiable, it is real, this identifiability is realized by demonstratives, okay? So it is identifiable, it is either near or far. If it is near, then it's realized by the proximal demonstratives and far by the distal demonstratives. There are quite many in Dagari, so I could not put them in the system network. In writing, one will have to present a table and put this in. And then the personal dices, this will be the domain of the possessive. So either interactant or non-interactant. If it's interactant, it can be speaker, speaker plus, or addressee, realized by the different pronouns, first person, second person, or third person pronouns. Okay, so the argument I'm trying to make here is that the space of deicticity within the Dagari nominal group is divided, the division of labor here, so that the definite or indefinite article are specialized in the region of indicating familiarity. Reading the literature, I realized in Jim Martin's discussion of participant tracking, participant identification in Tagalog, English, and Kathy, he uses the term presenting and presuming. And looking at my data again, I'm trying to see, because they are quite similar to what I'm referring to here as familiar and unfamiliar. Yes, but I'm still trying to analyze the data, look at more patterns, and see whether the best term to use here will be the presenting and presuming, as J. Martin has used. But now I'll proceed to present discourse data, getting to the end, present discourse data, and then try to explain, right, show how the system networks is motivated by the discourse, or how the discourse data, the standard discourse data we have supports this network. And of course, the network, as I mentioned, is something I generated by analyzing extended discourse. So this is a narrative from a children's storybook on the Bible, okay? So about Adam and Eve. So I'll read the Dagari version, and then I'll explain the English, give the English translation. So it's a text which I've segmented into theme rim analysis. So Adama ne awa ti do ne bibi ayi kaye ni Abel. Abel wa in pichine akaye e kwora. Akaye puru ti malevla achi yaume. Oti iri achi ko puri na mwen barka. Abel tinyoni au pelikan male barko ana mwen. So this is, as I said, from King of Abel, Adam and Eve. So it says Adam and Eve had 2 children, Cain and Abel. Abel was a shepherd. Cain was a farmer. Cain's farms did well, and his guinea corn were plenty. He took some of the guinea corn and made sacrifice to God. And Abel also took some of the, took one of the sheep and then made a sacrifice to God. Here, I want to use so I mentioned that I'm talking about the system of familiarity here, all right? And the point is that in Dagari, the definite article, right? The definite article, when you analyze narrative, is normally used when the speaker already assumes that the listener is, the referent is known to the listener, okay? And in analyzing narratives, we see this in the participant identification, participant tracking, right? Borrowing from the work done by Jim Martin. So you will see that the definite article can be used with proper nouns. It is used with proper nouns when this has already been mentioned in the text and is introduced in the second time. So signaling to the reader that this is identified, this is a participant we've mentioned before. Okay, so the text begins with, so we see that again, the definite article is more frequent in the theme position, which is understandable because themes are normally picked from the preceding text. So the first sentence, which says the Adam and the Eve, right? So this is the beginning of the Cain and Abel story. And of course, the preceding texts have already introduced Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve here are tracked by using the definite article. Now, if you look at the rime, Cain and Abel are introduced for the first time, so there is no use of the definite article. But when they are mentioned again in clause 2.1, Abel takes the definite article, Abel. And then in 2.2, Cain takes the definite article, Akaye, right? And then this continues throughout. And then we see guinea corn, 3.2, taking definite article, Achi, which of course is an assumed information, right? From clause 3.1, talking about Cain's farms doing well. So when you say it is an assumed information, it is a familiar information, it's not only that the thing has been mentioned explicitly, but from the preceding text, we can already expect, or we can infer, or we can relate guinea corn to the things in the farm, all right? And then we see clause 4.2, God is introduced in the room, right? So oti iri achi ko puri na mwen barka. So he took the guinea corn to give thanks to God. Now in 5.1 or 5.2, when God is mentioned the second time again, we have the definite article, right? So by looking at this participant identification pattern, which is quite prevalent in the data, we get to see the motivation of the use of the definite article as normally indicating that this has been mentioned before, or this is part of the speakers and the listeners' knowledge, whether from the cultural context, from the text external world or text internal world, right? And when you look at the, I'll skip this one because it's just a further example. If you look at the demonstratives, as we said, are normally indicating identifiability, telling the speaker that you can identify the thing. So not necessarily something that is familiar to you, not necessarily something you know already, but it is identifiable, again, within the context of discourse. So if you get these examples, which uses both the definite article and the demonstrative in the same nominal group. So the first one, Tamiyil alay. Don't be saying that, where that takes the definite article a. And this is an utterance. So we know that demonstrative le here is referring to a preceding text, which the addressee has uttered, and now the speaker is cautioning the addressee against that. So the le here is pointing to something within the environment. It's identifiable, right? It is identifiable. The definite article there indicates that this is known, right? So it's kind of giving us a signal that this is it's tracking the participant. So it's an assumed knowledge. It's something that you and I know. Okay, so ko are all. So this may be more clearer because we are dealing with a text eternal thing. So give it to that one. So talking about give it to that boy and not this boy. Okay, So we could say ko-ol, give without a definite article. So without a definite article, here the speaker is saying that you can identify this person I'm talking about, right? Maybe I'm pointing my hand to the person, ko-ol, this one. So not something you are already familiar with. But if I say ko-ol, it is mostly, it will be a response to the addressee. So the addressee would have asked, whom should I give it to? Inko Anna, right? So the addressee has already introduced this particular two alternatives. And so the idea of familiarity, right? Assume knowledge is there. So the definite marker indicates this pure knowledge, whereas the demonstrative is indicating that the referent is available in the context. It's something we can identify and assess here. So both meanings are very similar. They are both definiteness in meaning, or they are both indicating kind of specific meanings. But whereas the definite article is giving the meaning of familiarity, pure knowledge, right? Somebody I and you know already before the utterance, or something we have talked about already before the utterance. The demonstrative simply signals that this entity or this referent is identifiable in the context. All right. So I'll give this as the last example. So here I have not just the demonstrative, but also the personal pronouns are identified. So again, this is an interview between a journalist and somebody randomly picked on the street to answer some political issues. Okay, so the person, the interviewee, the respondent is R and the interviewee is I. So the respondent is responding to something the interview has asked. And he says, Ayela, Bewan is school yaga asum, Bewan polyclinic, right? So talking about what the government has done. So saying that as for the things, they brought many schools, this helped, they brought a polyclinic. Okay, and then the interviewer picks this up and says, "Nina a polyclinic nebia." So where is that polyclinic? So we have the definite article here. So we see that the first mention of the polyclinic, there was no definite article, but here it is there, which is tracking this, right? So it has kind of anaphoric meaning. Whereas the polyclinic, the ne here is pointing to the polyclinic. It's not near us, it's somewhere, I know, so that one, okay? So whereas the demonstrative is indicating to the listener that this reference is available in the outside world, is something identifiable there. The definite article is indicating that this polyclinic is familiar. It's something we've mentioned in prior talks. So it's a specific one we are talking about. Okay. So generally, this is what I've been able to do by way of going, have multiple deictic elements occurring in the nominal group, and these deictic elements sharing similar meaning. The similar meaning is that they normally all are showing some kind of definiteness in meaning, or if like the analysis I've done shows that these particular deictic elements divides the semantic space of deicticity among themselves, with the definite, indefinite distinction showing familiarity or known and unknown information. The third deictic, which is normally realized by the demonstratives, indicating identifiability, showing that this is something we can identify in the context. And then the possessives, which I have not spent so much time on here, normally will indicate the person, right? So indicating whether the referent is interactant or non-interactant. If it is an interactant, is it the speaker plus, or the addressee? So these particular personal dices are what are picked by the interpersonal, the possessive determinants, but mostly not more than this. Unlike in English, where we will have the possessive determiner being the definite, the one indicating familiarity, at the same time, maybe identifiability, and at the same time, showing the person, or if you like, the interaction orientation. Okay, so thank you very much. For listening to me, and I hope Moose is still with us. I don't know. I'll wait for your questions, comments, suggestions.
Moose just left, but yeah, I can share the rest of the session. Thanks very much, Ayak. It's a great presentation. Okay. You are certainly an expert in this area. I myself, it's always fascinating to look at the application of SFL in other languages. So yeah, wonderful. And Jim, it looks like Jim is very interested. He joined earlier, but he left. But we can record. We already record this last session, and so we can share the link later. So thanks very much again for your talk. And anyone, do you have any questions? Please ask. Please turn on your video if you like, and or unmute your
chats. Okay. Yeah, I can see. I think there are some chats. Okay. Okay.
In the chat box so far.
Okay. Okay. I think I saw somebody comparing, not here, it to Yoruba.
Feel free to unmute.
Okay, in Yoruba, the modifier is in front of the noun. Okay, so not a question. Okay, no questions here. Okay, so there are comments.
Yeah, they just say thank you. Thanks a lot for the.
So, okay, well, thank you.
Yes, Tao from Nigeria.
Yes, so Yoruba, I'm happy to have my neighbor from Nigeria joining. Or I don't. Or the person is, yeah, so I assume this person is in Nigeria or speaks Yoruba if the person not in Nigeria.
I am in Nigeria and I speak Yoruba.
Oh, good. Good. Nice. So neighborly greetings from Ghana.
Thank you very much. I graduated from the University of Lagos.
All right, great, nice. All right.
If people don't have any questions, we can say thank you to.
Hello, Isaac.
Okay, so one.
Yes. Yes.
Good, excellent. Please ask.
Maybe one of these days I will come to do conference in Ghana.
Okay. So University of Cape
because in Nigeria, in Nigeria we don't do SFT or SFL. I only did SFL at my PhD level.
Okay.
Yes, we do syntax from a Chomskyan perspective. So I will look for a time to come to Ghana so that we can collaborate.
That is very nice. And we have a local interest group, so we can get in touch. I can add you to our WhatsApp page. Mostly, we share information from the international Facebook group Venus creators on the platform and other discussions.
Oh, that's fantastic. What I will do now is I will give my private mail and telephone number. So you can add me to the WhatsApp group and you can write me through my mail.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more questions, everyone? If you don't have any more questions, let's join me to say thank you very much to Zach again for his fascinating topic. And the recording will be made available on the YouTube channel, and I will send it to everybody in the world, and they can watch at their convenience. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. I think it's fascinating, right? There are a couple of authors looking at the application of SFL in Vietnamese, and this is something that I would like to do in the future too. So it's fascinating. And so would you like to say anything else?
Okay. So I would say thank you very much to all of you for listening, and before your dinner time, I think in Australia, and very much in Hong Kong too. Thank you for listening and for waiting, although I had problem logging in. If you have any questions and comments later from your readings, and you can always send me some information. As I said, this is ongoing, and it's going to be part of a special issue. Jim and Yegan are co-editing. I'm going to submit a draft somewhere in December, January. So I still have some time working on it. Thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much for catching up so early to deliver your talk, Isaac. And I hope you can sleep again. No, you can start your day. Just joking. Good. Okay, thanks very much again, everyone. And I hope to see you in the next session and my presentation.
Okay.
Okay, Isaac, can you see the email address and telephone number?
Telephone.
Yes, I can see it. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'll be expecting your response.
Good. Good.
Oh, thanks very much again, everyone. And see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Dennis, you have done a great job. Jim, just send me an email. I will stop the recording and chat with you.
Okay. Thank you very much.